house was situated in the quiet town of Belmez de la Moraleda, with a small population of about 1,800 that has been steadily decreasing over the years. Unlike those families in cliché jump-scare-filled horror movies, the Pereiras was your typical Spanish household, whose house would not really make you look twice when you walk past it. Until, of course, when Maria Gómez Pereira noticed something unusual on their kitchen floor. Such men babies, she probably thought to herself, while thinking of ways to tell Diego and her husband to be a little mindful of what they spill on the floor. Looking at the stain for a few more seconds, she was finally forming the image in her mind. What could have been in this city that caused people to move away, we could only speculate. But what would have them drive back and attract tens and thousands of people to this rural area is a crossover between what modern science is too far behind to understand and what even the paranormal could not exactly put their finger on. Hey, my name is Detective Maple. If you like true crime stories and unsolved mysteries, hit that subscribe button because I'm here to bring tons your way. So drape your blanket over your head and let's get spookin'. With white stone houses and quaint day-to-day living, Belmez was rather aesthetic-looking, peaceful, humble, and unbothered. Maria, the mother of the family, knows the city by heart and soul. She was a native of the town, and it was no surprise that she would raise her family with Juan Pereira at the Calle Real 5, Belmez de la Moraleda, Jaén, Andalusia. No one seems to have noticed anything peculiar about the family, nor Maria when she was growing up. She said so herself that she was a typical classic girl next door. Aside from her public statements, not much is said about the details of Maria Gómez Camara's childhood and upbringing. Nobody knows the family's economic background, how they were raised, relevant aspects of their culture, their personalities, their faith, and more. Juan Pereira and their son Diego did not have much to share about themselves either. We do know, though, that despite this, hidden behind her smile like everyone else who lost their loved ones during the Spanish Civil War, was Maria's torment and grief that never really went away. Spain's nationalists and Republicans war from 1936 to 1939 had claimed over 150,000 civilian lives, part of which were Maria's first family, who died in Santa Maria de la Cabeza Sanctuary. In the present, anyone who would visit the Pereira house enjoys its beauty and mystery, making it stand out from all similar-looking houses in the neighborhood. Not to mention, the family's warmth to guests was also exceptional. It was small and could only fit less than a dozen people inside, yet Maria and her family take great pride in keeping things inside the house in an orderly manner. Maria was probably the type of host who would let you use the good china. According to MTTN, the family was very hospitable to visitors, offering them a spare room to stay in and homemade snacks. You're probably wondering, what really happened in this house that causes thousands of tourists to visit every year? Well, here's the story. Contrary to the pleasant summer morning of 1972, Maria was not feeling well. She was feverish and hallucinating. So just imagine her reaction when she found this mysterious faint stain on the kitchen floor. Trying to reason out with herself that it was probably a coincidence or a result of her sickness hallucination, she ignores it. But the stain is slightly more on the attention-seeking side of the spectrum. It did not leave nor move. The next day, it got darker and more distinguishable, and it greeted Maria with extreme horror. As soon as Maria realizes, she freaks out like a normal person. I know I would. So she grabs a brush and scrubs the floor like there was no tomorrow. The stain was stubborn, but as the lady of the house, Maria was shaking her head no. I mean, look at this photo. Imagine being dehydrated at night and heading to the kitchen to get some water and seeing this on the floor. No, thank you. Juan Pereira was summoned into the scene. and together with their son Diego, they used pickaxes to chop off the stained floor. But again, whoever put the stains on the kitchen floor of the Pereiras came prepared because the faces resurfaced a week later and brought its whole clan. One village folk heard from the other about the strange faces in the Pereiras' home. Soon, the household was the only one the neighborhoods could talk about. They were gaining a lot of attention. Everyone, and I mean everyone, wanted to take a look at the faces on the floor themselves. I mean, who could blame them? I'd probably be first in line too. The family was so creeped out by the images that they wanted to destroy the faces right away. However, the mayor of the town ruled that the area should be excavated for research before they could further deface the face. Thankfully, not destroying the house or the stains would later enable analysis and the experts to uncover the truth behind the Belmez Faces. Researchers took photographs, sealed the floor with wax, and covered it for preservation. Meanwhile, new faces emerged and some have even moved despite being sealed for months. Even new faces appeared on the wall. The faces ranged from women, young and old, to men who appeared to be in groups. The historic foundation and concrete floor below were removed during a deep excavation. Everyone was stunned by what they found. Skeletons, some of which were decapitated, were resting in the dirt beneath the kitchen. The bodies were dug up and investigated. Researchers came to the conclusion that some were even from the 13th century. Were the spirits of these bodies looking for justice? Maybe even revenge? After these investigations were finished, a Catholic burial was performed at the neighborhood cemetery for the bodies. The kitchen was restored and the floor of the Pereira family was rebuilt. Soon later, new faces appeared once again. What could be happening in this house? Researchers think it's something called photography. According to Wikipedia, this is the claimed ability to burn images from one's mind onto surfaces such as photographic film by parapsychic means. Hans Bender and Herman de Argumosa were the primary researchers of the photographic hypothesis of the Belmez Faces. Although they did not publish official reports regarding their theory, Bender and de Argumosa believe that the lady of the house and also the human agent, Maria Pereira, has the ability to consciously or subconsciously burn images on things. Photography could explain why the images seem to reflect Maria's mood or emotions, and the activity would subside when she is away. Later though, this theory would be slightly swept under the rug, for even when Maria Pereira passed away in 2004, the images kept on appearing and disappearing in the house. In 1993, investigator Luis Ruiz Noguez noted in the Journal of the Society for Psychical Research that cations zinc, lead, and chromium were found in the samples from the house. Do you know what else has zinc, chromium, and lead? Manufactured paints, particularly the cheaper ones, are more commonly used in household paint. Another skeptical parapsychologist, Gómez Pereira of the Spanish Society of Parapsychology, supported the forgery theory. They found out that the most famous image in the house, La Pava, has had discoloration which could indicate that paint has been used. Using infrared photography, they saw pigmentation atop the original image. Moreover, brush strokes were evident. The presence of these materials and the brush strokes was the foundation for the skeptics to believe and argue that no magical or paranormal printing or painting happened in the Pereira house. Instead, the similarities of the evidence found and the process of painting proves that the images were done by people. The parapsychologists have no doubt. Contrary to the earlier theories, the Institute of Ceramics and Glass stands by its finding through chemical tests of samples that there were no traces of paint found in any place. This makes sense because although this case is decades ago when chemistry was behind what we have in 2022, no one was able to replicate the occurrence of faces in the house. In fact, a TV show called Cuarto Milenio investigated the case with the goal of exposing the possible hoax performed by the family. The team did not arrive for the game unprepared. They made sure to bring out their best cards: chemical engineers, forensic criminalists, and other experts to conduct the investigation. From the collected sample from the face, there were no traces of paint nor evidence of external manipulation found. Luis Alamancos, the forensic criminalist, admitted to not being able to reproduce similar images despite his many attempts. But why do a lot of people suspect the Pereira family of organizing this hoax in the first place? The answer is simply for financial gain. Even if the family technically opened their doors for everyone free of charge, she accepted tips. Was the family desperately in need of money that they subjected themselves to such judgments? We can only speculate. In a mystery such as the Belmez Faces, you would think that there would be much more conspiracies than small pieces of scientific evidence. But the absence of a concrete explanation or recreation of how the mysterious faces occurred in the quiet, humble town of Belmez, it seems like the scientific clues found only drove us further from the truth. Do you think that the Pereiras were calculated, scientifically advanced individuals that organized a hoax that scientists just could not debunk? Or were they an equally puzzled family who simply gained attention from people constantly wanting to see their kitchen floor? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. In the next story, Mary Ashford and Barbara Forrest were 20 years old and spent their last day dancing. They were killed on the same day of the year, May 27. Both bodies were found in the same park, and the prime suspects of their murders is a guy named Thornton. The only problem? The two murders are 157 years apart. Until then, Puppet out!